Okay, let's unpack this. We are about to delve into a topic so fundamental, so constant, so utterly integrated into the fabric of our existence that its very ubiquity has rendered it almost invisible.
It's almost a cliche, isn't it?
It is. We're
Yeah.
talking about attention, presence, and, that most foundational biological rhythm, breathing.
It truly is the ultimate paradox of essential neglect. I mean, it is the one thing we do from the moment we're born until the moment we die, automatically without interruption.
Right.
Yet the moment we choose to pay conscious attention to it, the sources we analyze suggest it unlocks these powerful cognitive and physiological levers we rarely, if ever, access.
And that's the observation that instantly grabbed me and why this deep dive is so crucial for you, our learner. The core comparison presented in the material is, frankly, staggering when you lay it out logically.
It really is.
Think about your daily rhythm. You eat 3, maybe 4 or 5 times a day. You drink water several times a day to stay hydrated. These are active, intentional processes.
Yeah. They require planning. You have to decide what to eat, you have to acquire, you have to prepare it.
Exactly. They require conscious execution and resource management.
Mm.
But how often, and I mean really right now, in the middle of your daily routine, while you're listening to us, while you're commuting, while you're getting ready for your next meeting, how often do you truly remember and pay attention to the quality and the state of your breathing?
The answer is almost never. And that's not a judgment, it's just a fact of our biology and our modern lives. The system is designed to be automatic.
The answer for me, before I read this material, was absolutely never. Unless I was, exercising or consciously trying to calm down. And that statistical observation is the starting pistol for this entire deep dive.
It is. We manage our internal inputs, food and water, with meticulous, sometimes obsessive care. We read labels, we track calories, we filter our water.
Right.
Yet the most immediate, the most constant, and the most vital input air is entirely outsourced to the nervous system's autopilot.
And often with detrimental results, as we'll get into.
That's right. So our mission today is a shortcut. We want to guide you through the materials to show you precisely why this neglect is a problem, and more importantly, how to reintegrate this foundational process.
We're designed to pull out the profound insights quickly, demonstrating that the deliberate moment-to-moment regulation of your respiration is perhaps the single most overlooked tool for personal performance.
So what here is not minor. I mean, the sources we're looking at aren't simply recommending you pause for a deep breath during a stressful moment, which is good advice, but
It is table stakes.
it's table stakes. They are elevating conscious, regulated breathing to the level of personal hygiene, nutrition, and hydration. It is moving it from a temporary wellness hack to a non-negotiable component of daily physiological maintenance.
That's a huge claim.
It's an enormous claim, and the benefits attached to this simple shift in attention are just as big, covering both stress management and cognitive enhancement. We're going to look at how prioritizing breath promises to eliminate what the source calls intense thinking pressure.
We all know that feeling.
Oh, yes, that sensation of mental overwhelm. And we'll look at how it leads to a state the source calls heart and mind alertness, which is essentially a kind of high-level, sustained vigilance, but without the burnout that usually comes with it.
So we're examining breathing not as just a biological given, but as an active intervention tool, a mechanism you can use for cognitive clarity and, surprisingly, for skill acquisition.
It's a very compelling argument for proactively managing a process that really defines our physical and mental state from one moment to the next.
Okay, so let's start with that frequency discrepancy again, because it entirely frames the necessity of this shift. As we said, eating and drinking are intentional events.
They're scheduled. They have a beginning and an end.
They happen when we choose to make them happen. Breathing is constant, automatic, and free, which is precisely why it falls out of our conscious awareness.
And that automaticity, which is, brilliant for survival, you don't want to have to remember to breathe, it creates what we might call respiratory drift in our modern, cognitively demanding world.
Respiratory drift. I like that. What do you mean by that?
Well, we're constantly exposed to these low-level stressors, email notifications, deadlines pinging, financial worries in the back of your mind. And without conscious intervention, the autonomic system just defaults.
Defaults to what?
It defaults to shallow, rapid, inefficient chest breathing. The brain has successfully delegated this task to the background, but in doing so, it has hidden a really critical feedback loop from our conscious management.
And when you contrast that with the things we do remember to manage daily, We regulate our calendars, we brush our teeth without fail, we schedule doctor appointments.
Of course.
If we neglect those tasks, the negative consequences are obvious and they're pretty immediate. You neglect personal hygiene, and there's immediate social and physical discomfort. You neglect to eat, and functional decline is rapid.
But the consequence of neglecting conscious breath is it's far more insidious. It doesn't present as an immediate crisis that you have to solve right now.
Right, there's no alarm bell going off saying you're breathing poorly.
Exactly. Instead, it manifests as this gradual erosion of mental capacity, a lower threshold for stress, chronic tension in the shoulders and neck, and just a general background feeling of anxiety that you can't quite put your finger on.
Which is why the analogy the source uses is so powerful. It urges us to care for breathing, just as we care for personal hygiene, eating, and drinking. It's framing respiration as a form of, well, physiological hygiene.
That framing is so helpful. Physiological hygiene.
I think so too. We wouldn't go a week without basic physical cleanliness. Why? Because the buildup of neglect is unpleasant and dysfunctional.
You feel it immediately.
You do. Yet we allow the system responsible for delivering oxygen to every single cell and expelling metabolic waste to operate entirely in this cramped, uncontrolled, often frantic state. It leads to a kind of, cognitive plaque.
Cognitive plaque, that's a fantastic term for it. And it builds up from that constant shallow breathing, which is basically signaling a low-grade state of emergency to the nervous system all day long.
So you're in a low-level fight-or-flight mode constantly.
Constantly. The goal of incorporating breath care, then, is to continuously maintain that internal system to prevent the plaque from ever forming in the first place.
And the call to action for you, the listener, is remarkably practical. It's about integrating breath into daily movement. The source explicitly states that one must notice and observe the condition in which they are breathing in conjunction with their daily movement.
And that is a crucial distinction. This is not formal meditation reserved for a cushion for 20 minutes in the morning.
Yeah.
It's something else entirely. This concept moves breathing from a separate scheduled practice into a fully integrated life skill. What's fascinating here is that the focus is on observation during action.
During action. So not separate from life, but woven into it.
Woven right in. This means every mundane task, walking down the hall, standing up from your chair, waiting for an elevator, typing a complex email, every single one becomes an opportunity for a micro check-in on your respiration status.
So instead of adding another 20-minute task to your already packed schedule, you are leveraging the transition moments that are already built into your day.
Precisely.
For you as a learner, this means if you accept this integrated approach, you suddenly have dozens, maybe hundreds of opportunities a day to perform a small, immediate self-correction.
You're just sitting there, maybe focused on a difficult paragraph you're reading, and you suddenly realize, hey, I'm holding my breath, or my breath has become really tiny and rapid.
That's happened to me so many times since reading this, just noticing it.
And that observation is the practice. That's the first step, just the noticing.
And performing that observation, that simple noticing, allows you to then start addressing the two primary functional benefits listed in the sources.
Yeah.
The first one is, I think, the most commonly accepted one.
Right.
Conscious breathing works directly to reduce psychological and physical stress. It's an immediate intervention on the autonomic nervous system.
It is. It's like a manual override for your stress response.
But the second benefit is where this becomes truly powerful for anyone aiming for peak performance. The source says conscious breathing works to acquire new skills.
And that linkage is key. It suggests a direct mechanism between how you regulate your breath and how well you can perform cognitively and learn new things.
This immediately raises a huge question for me. Mechanistically, how does conscious breathing facilitate the acquisition of new skills? I mean, it sounds a little bit out there.
It does, but when you look at the neurology, it makes perfect sense. To understand this, we need to look at the brain state required for learning. Skill acquisition demands intense focus, attention, deliberate repetition, and ultimately the formation of new neural pathways, neuroplasticity.
Okay. And what actively inhibits all of those processes?
Stress. It's as simple as that. When you are under physiological stress, your sympathetic nervous system is activated. Your body is preparing for fight or flight. This floods your system with hormones, primarily cortisol. And cortisol, while very useful for, immediate survival, is a known inhibitor of learning, of memory consolidation, and particularly of prefrontal cortex function.
And the prefrontal cortex is where our executive decision-making and our focused attention reside.
That's the brain CEO right there.
So let me see if I've got this right. If I'm sitting down to learn a new, complex skill, say a programming language, or memorize a long series of legal statutes, and I'm simultaneously breathing rapidly and shallowly because of general anxiety, my brain isn't just slightly distracted.
No.
It's chemically inhibited from performing the task efficiently.
Exactly. The brain's priority at that moment shifts from deliberate, complex learning to simple threat assessment. It's looking for the tiger in the bushes, not trying to understand a complex algorithm.
So what does the breathing do?
By consciously regulating your breath, deepening it, slowing it down, making it more rhythmic, you are engaging the vagus nerve. And this activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest mode. This acts as a kind of vagal brake on the stress response.
You are sending an unmistakable signal of safety to the brain.
Precisely. You're telling your own nervous system, it's okay, we are safe, there is no tiger. You immediately reduce the psychological and physical stress, which clears the channel for learning.
You're reducing the cognitive load.
Yes. The resources that were tied up in that survival circuit are released and can be dedicated to enhanced neural focus and the deliberate repetition required for skill mastery. It's essentially a high-level cognitive resource allocation strategy, and you're controlling it with your breath.
When you put it like that, it reminds me of a professional athlete taking a free throw, or a surgeon, just before they begin a complex procedure.
Perfect examples.
They don't just happen upon a calm state. They are deliberately using their breath in the moments preceding the action to stabilize their body and quiet their mind.
Yes, and what the source is arguing is that this technique shouldn't be reserved just for that moment of peak performance. It needs to be integrated into the practice and the acquisition phase of the skill as well.
So it's not just a tool for the test, it's a tool for studying for the test.
Beautifully put. The integrated observation, watching the condition of your breath during your daily movement and your learning activities, it becomes a constant diagnostic feedback loop.
How so?
Well, if you notice you're breathing erratically while you're grappling with a new concept, that erratic breath is a signal. It's signaling internal inhibition. Your body's telling you that you're stressed.
And the conscious correction, the micro-adjustment of taking a deeper breath, is the immediate tool for overcoming that inhibition.
That's it. This makes breath regulation truly a foundational skill. It's the skill that makes all other skills easier to learn.
So the immediate takeaway from this section, then, is a pretty profound shift in priority. If you start to treat your breathing with the same care and attention you give to choosing your next meal or maintaining your hygiene, you immediately buy yourself a powerful, always available tool for self-regulation.
And that self-regulation serves as the bedrock for learning anything new. It transforms your brain from a state of anxious reaction to one of focused acquisition.
Okay, let's move beyond general stress reduction and into the pure cognitive benefits, because the source is remarkably specific about the mental benefit we gain.
It is.
It says conscious breathing helps eliminate the pressure caused by excessive or intense thinking.
We really need to define that term clearly. Intense thinking pressure. This is not just having a lot on your mind.
No.
It is that overwhelming sensation when the mental machinery is running too fast, too loud, and just too intensely. Physically, it can manifest as a tight band around the head or a deep sense of cognitive friction.
I visualize it as a traffic jam in the prefrontal cortex. There are just too many simultaneous calculations happening at high speed, and the result is total gridlock. Nothing gets through.
That's a great way to think about it. And it's common when the stakes are high. You're preparing for a major investor pitch. You're trying to integrate 10 different data streams into one coherent strategy, or you're wrestling with a complex ethical decision.
And when you're in that state, experiencing that intense thinking pressure, the thought process is often circular and frantic. It lacks efficiency.
It does. The more you try to force a solution, the tighter that pressure becomes. It's a very high-cost mental state that leads rapidly to fatigue and burnout.
And this is precisely where the intervention of conscious breath is supposed to be so potent.
It is. By consciously directing your attention to a purely physical, rhythmic, non-conceptual process, your breath, you immediately starve that intense thinking loop of the attention it requires to sustain itself.
You're pulling the fuel from the fire.
You're executing a conscious cognitive override. You cannot efficiently sustain intense, multi-threaded, abstract thought while you are simultaneously focusing intensely on the tactile sensation of air moving past your nostrils or the subtle rise and fall of your abdomen.
So the breath acts as an anchor.
An anchor is the perfect word. It tethers your focus to the physical present, and it diverts that cognitive energy away from the abstract, pressurized problem space.
So the breath acts as a mandatory point of focus, like a lightning rod for scattered attention. If you just dedicate, 5 seconds to observing the depth and speed of the breath, you can disrupt that high-frequency internal debate.
Exactly. And the outcome of eliminating this pressure is the achievement of a highly desirable state of heightened awareness. The source outlines 3 interlinked results of careful, continuous breathing.
Okay, what are they?
First, the attention of the heart. Second, the attention of the mind. And third, mental vigilance or wakefulness.
All right, let's break those down. That first result, attention to the heart, that sounds like a leap into the metaphorical. Are the sources providing any physiological basis for this, or is this purely an interpretive, intuitive feeling?
That's an excellent and necessary question. And while heart is often used metaphorically, if we connect this back to the bigger picture, to the stress mechanisms we just discussed, there's a very real physiological basis.
In what?
In vagal tone and interoception, your ability to lens your own internal state. Intense thinking pressure is fueled by anxiety and emotional reactivity. When the system is calmed via the breath, we stabilize our emotional state.
So, attention of the heart implies not just a slower heart rate, but a restored connection to clarity of intention and emotional stability, rather than emotional turbulence driving the thinking process.
Exactly. It's the ability to make decisions from a centered, calm place. It's the integration of the analytical brain, the mind, and the emotional core, the heart.
And the breath is the bridge between them.
The breath acts as the stabilizer, ensuring the two can communicate without the static of anxiety. And this clarity of intent makes all subsequent actions more directed and more efficient.
Which leads us directly to the second result, the attention of the mind.
Right. If the emotional pressure is stabilized, the analytical engine is optimized. This isn't simply being able to think, it's the ability to sustain sharp, undistracted focus.
The thinking becomes efficient rather than frantic. It becomes strategic rather than reactive.
This is a state of true cognitive efficiency. When that intense pressure is removed and the emotional static is reduced, the mind gains the ability to concentrate deeply on one thing without constant derailment.
This is the difference between working hard and working smart.
At a neurological level, yes.
And when those two are achieved, the attention of the heart and the attention of the mind, the result is the third pillar, mental vigilance or wakefulness.
Yes, and this suggests a state of high readiness, where one is not only focused, but also broadly and calmly aware of their internal and external environment.
It's absolutely critical to distinguish this from, say, stressed vigilance.
A huge distinction. Stress vigilance is what you feel after 3 cups of coffee. It's fueled by adrenaline, exhaustion, and that jittery feeling of being overwhelmed. Your body is demanding you look out for threats. The vigilance described here is a stable, sustainable awareness born of physiological and mental equilibrium. It is a high-performance state that doesn't rapidly deplete your energy.
And for you, the learner, this maximizes your ability to process complex information and maintain application over long periods without burning out.
It's the marathon, not the sprint.
This entire spectrum, from eliminating pressure to achieving sustained vigilance, it all circles back to this recurring theme of the necessity of care.
It does.
The source reiterates that breathing must be given care, just like caring for your clothing, personal hygiene, eating and drinking, because it underpins this cognitive clarity.
Let's use the analogy of caring for your car. You don't wait for the engine to seize up before you add oil. You perform regular maintenance.
That's proactive.
Respiratory care is the equivalent of a continuous oil change for your cognitive engine. It's a continuous, low-level effort, observing, adjusting, paying attention to the condition of the system.
We tend to think of care only in terms of reactive maintenance.
Yeah.
Fixing a problem after it arises. A headache prompts you to drink water.
Exactly. But here, the source suggests breath care is fundamentally preventative. By ensuring stable, rhythmic, deep respiration, you prevent the buildup of thinking pressure and stress hormones before they even have a chance to compromise the system.
It's a proactive management strategy for your own mind.
It is. If we accept the premise that proper breathing underpins mental vigilance, then neglecting your breath is like knowingly running your computer with insufficient memory or an overheating processor.
Performance is guaranteed to degrade.
Guaranteed. Giving it care ensures smooth, optimized operation and sustained, calm wakefulness. It maximizes your capacity to engage with the world and to learn from it.
Now, this is where the philosophy of the source truly shifts from prescription to empowerment. I found this part really fascinating.
Hmm.
After establishing the profound importance of breath care, the material doesn't hand you a fixed, rigid recipe or a 10-step program.
Which is what you'd almost expect.
Right. Instead, and here's where it gets really interesting, you, the listener, are encouraged to discover for yourself the best ways to breathe. This is not a fixed recipe, it's an exploratory mandate.
This self-discovery is crucial because it honors the inherent dynamic nature of human physiology. Your best breath pattern when you focused on deep study is going to be different from your optimal pattern when you're doing strenuous physical activity or when you're simply trying to relax.
So you have to become your own respiratory scientist.
You have to. You observe the immediate effects of different parameters on your own system.
And the source provides specific initial variables for this personal research. We are asked to experiment with the mechanical inlet, so breathing through the mouth or the nose, and also to vary the speeds, slow, fast, or moderate.
This immediately challenges that common monolithic idea that good breathing only means slow, deep nasal breathing.
Right, the classic yoga instruction.
The mandate to experiment with mouth breathing or faster tempos suggests that intentionality and attentiveness are paramount. For instance, fast, deep breathing might be necessary for certain physical efforts or for achieving immediate, sharp alertness.
While the slow nasal breathing is generally optimal for sustained calm and, better nitric oxide exchange.
Exactly. The key is disciplined observation. You apply the variable mouth versus nose, fast versus slow, and then you immediately check your internal state.
How does this affect my stress level, my attention of the heart, my mental vigilance?
The discovery process is the feedback loop itself. You are learning your own system.
However, within this broad exploratory mandate, the source provides one highly specific and structurally intriguing instruction, which we absolutely must delve into.
Yes.
And that's the technique of what it calls directional breathing. We're instructed to direct the airflow, one time reaching the chest, another time reaching the abdomen, and another time reaching the neck. Okay, directing airflow to the neck is the part that throws me. It seems physically impossible. You can't fill your neck with air in the way you fill your lungs.
Right.
We have the standard chest or thoracic breathing and abdominal or diaphragmatic breathing, which are well understood. What on earth is the source asking us to achieve with a neck breath?
This is where we have to move past the literal physical flow of air and into the realm of sensory awareness and intentional muscular engagement.
Okay.
Chest breathing, the thoracic kind, uses the upper lung capacity. It's often rapid and very common during stress. Abdominal breathing, the diaphragmatic kind, is deep. It involves the primary respiratory muscle, and it promotes calm.
So the neck breath then is about focusing on the highest point of the respiratory system.
Precisely. Directing the breath to the neck implies focusing your conscious attention and even muscular effort on the subtle movements in the clavicular area, the very top of the chest, and the accessory breathing muscles there.
Like the scalens and sternocleidomastoids.
Exactly. Those muscles are often incredibly tense and chronically overworked, especially for people who sit at a desk under that high-stress thinking pressure.
So the practice is both diagnostic and therapeutic.
Yeah.
By intentionally trying to send air there, I'm forcing awareness into that frequently neglected and tense region.
Yes.
And by doing that, I'm potentially identifying and releasing latent muscle tension that contributes to my stress and physical constriction.
It's intentional focus rather than a physical destination. The direction is a mental map for your attention. If you practice directing the breath to the abdomen, you are using your intention to ensure the diaphragm is fully engaged.
And if you direct it to the neck, you are forcing your awareness to map the upper respiratory tract and feel what's happening there.
Exactly. And the source implies this should be practiced discreetly or sequentially, building structural mastery over all of your respiratory mechanisms. This self-mapping is essential for real control.
I can see how this exercise builds the dexterity needed for the next step, which is the most advanced application, integrating this all into dynamic everyday life.
That brings us directly to the specialized term implied in the source, which is really the cornerstone of applied breath care. Kinematic breathing adjustment.
Kinematic breathing adjustment.
It's defined as the regulation and remembering of breathing in conjunction with movement and speech. This is where the practice truly leaves the stillness of self-discovery and enters the rigorous demands of the real world.
So kinematic breathing adjustment acknowledges that movement kinematics and communication fundamentally alter your respiratory needs and patterns.
And that these dynamic demands must be consciously managed if you want to maintain that state of vigilance we discussed earlier.
This requires intense, focused attention during dynamic activity. Think about the requirements for synchronizing your breath rhythm with physical movement.
Take something as simple as walking or climbing a flight of stairs. Most people unconsciously fall into a frantic, inefficient rhythm, or they even hold their breath during the effort of transition.
I do that. I notice myself holding my breath going upstairs sometimes.
We all do. An efficient kinematic adjustment requires you to intentionally synchronize your breath with that movement. For instance, exhaling fully as you exert effort like pushing a heavy door or lifting an object.
And ensuring a deep, structured inhale over a sustained period of low effort, like walking across a flat surface.
Yes, this prevents the panic signals that uncontrolled, rapid breathing sends to the brain.
Let's give some more concrete examples for the listener. Consider the person shifting position in their chair during a long workday.
Okay.
Do they collapse their posture and kind of sigh rapidly, or do they use that motion to support a full, intentional inhale as they sit upright, optimizing both posture and respiration simultaneously?
The latter is kinematic adjustment. It's a small thing, but done 100 times a day, it has a huge cumulative effect.
The other critical element, and this is arguably the biggest challenge for the modern learner, is maintaining conscious breath regulation even while speaking and conversing.
This is so hard. So much of our day is spent in high-stakes verbal exchanges.
And conversation is highly disruptive to the natural respiratory rhythm. When we speak, we override the autonomic function to support vocalization.
And when we're arguing or presenting complex data or even just listening intently, we frequently fall into these patterns of shallow breathing, speaking on residual air or breath holding while we process what the other person is saying.
And all of this quickly induces stress and that mental pressure we talked about.
So if the source encourages care for breath during speech, it means ensuring stable breath support during complex verbal exchanges. It means consciously inhaling before you launch into a long, complex sentence.
It also means actively noticing when you have subconsciously held your breath while listening intently to a difficult question or a stressful counterargument.
That subtle breath hold while listening is particularly insidious. You might think you're being a great engaged listener, but physiologically you are triggering a minor stress response.
Which is inhibiting your ability to process the information calmly and formulate an optimal response.
Precisely. Kinematic adjustment during a conversation is about maintaining your internal equilibrium, your internal state of calm vigilance, even when the external stimulus is demanding or stressful.
So this mastery of kinematic adjustment is really the ultimate goal of the source material.
It's the synthesis of everything.
It's turning breath regulation into a seamless, integrated component of your total function. If you can maintain attention, focus, and regulated breath during a high-stakes debate, or while navigating complex physical movement,
Then you have essentially inoculated yourself against the intense thinking pressure that would otherwise compromise your performance.
it makes perfect sense that regulating breath during movement and speech is the pinnacle of the practice. It's the hardest part.
It's where the rubber meets the road.
So this deep dive has fundamentally redefined the role of respiration, for me at least. It is not background noise. It is a frontline tool.
It's the immediate mechanism available to you right now for managing stress, enhancing learning, and achieving sustained mental vigilance.
And it must be prioritized like the most basic necessities of life, eating, drinking, and hygiene.
The foundational argument is clear. Neglecting conscious breath is functionally equivalent to neglecting those other necessities, and it leads to predictable negative outcomes in your stress levels and your cognitive performance.
We have identified the cost of neglecting this physiological hygiene,
We have.
and we've established the practical path forward, which is rooted in self-discovery. It's about exploring variations in speed, in inlet mouth, or nose.
Utilizing that specific directional focus chest, abdomen, neck to gain physical awareness and control.
And then integrating that control through kinematic adjustment, regulating your breath during everyday movement and speech.
This entire system is geared toward one outcome: maintaining a state of continuous attention of the heart, attention of the mind, and that stable mental vigilance.
This allows for sustained high performance without the cost of high-frequency cognitive burnout.
It's a powerful invitation to take ownership of a process we have outsourced to the nervous system for far too long.
It's about shifting from reaction to proactive management. It's moving beyond the idea of the breath as just an emergency reset button you hit when you're stressed.
and viewing it as continuous daily maintenance for your mind.
Exactly.
And that brings us to the final thought. We always reaffirm our core belief. Knowledge is most valuable when it's understood, and most importantly, when it's applied.
The source material here doesn't provide a guru or a fixed methodology. It demands application and personal discovery.
It puts the power and the responsibility squarely on you.
So we leave you with this provocative closing thought for you to mull over. If you accept the premise that breathing should be cared for like personal hygiene, what is the smallest, most repeatable daily task you will dedicate to your kinematic breathing adjustment practice starting today?
And we mean small. Will it be during the 2 minutes you spend waiting for your computer to boot up, where you just focus purely on directing the breath through those 3 points: chest, abdomen, neck, to check for tension?
Or maybe during the mundane, repetitive act of walking up and down a staircase, consciously ensuring your breath rhythm matches your steps.
The choice is yours, but the mandate from the source is clear. Start active experimentation. Start today, based purely on the variables we've discussed.
And observe the immediate change in your internal state. Make your breath a priority and see how quickly your focus and vigilance follow suit.